Hi, this is Wishop, and this is your card reading for the new moon in Taurus, which is May 15th, well, was May 15th, going through May 29th, which will be the full moon in Sagittarius. And I kind of want to jump right in with the cards, but I do want to say that all of this Taurus energy, and Uranus is entering Taurus now too, and I'll try to get to this as I read the cards. It is asking you where you put your resources. And it doesn't just mean money. It means your time. It means your appreciation. It means your attention. What are you valuing? And how are you representing that value in the words that you say, in the actions you take, in the time you spend, in the care that you give yourself and other things in your life? All of these are investments, precious little gold coins, and Taurus wants to know how you're spending them. Because if what you really care about in the long term are things like your personal development or your family's happiness or some project that you have in mind or a relationship that's of key importance to you, and what you're spending your time and energy and attention and thoughts and words on is something different. Taurus, this opportunity of the moon in Taurus and Uranus entering Taurus and Mars in Aquarius is really going to ask you to discriminate, if you will, to make the hard delineations between what really matters and what doesn't matter. And the other thing is that Taurus cares a lot about the long term, not the short term. So this is going to be a time when investing for things that have long term value is going to be favored. But worrying about the outrage of the week or the fashion of the month, those things in the end may feel like a waste if that's how you're spending the precious coins of your attention and your appreciation. I hope I'm not mangling what I mean to say, but there you go. So let's get into the cards. I actually have been spending more time, more intention and attention on some things that I care about, including some sort of long sideline things that I've gotten back to. So hopefully I'll have more word on that soon. But another thing I've been doing is more playing card reading. So this week, or this time rather, I do it every 2 weeks, but I've got the Zircus Magi tarot deck, and we're going to read that in combination with playing cards. This is the Stargazer bicycle deck, which I think is beautiful and I've really been enjoying. So I'm doing more playing card reading, and we'll do them in combination with the tarot cards and see how they all flavor up and impact each other. So here we go. The center, we have Jack of Spades, and we have Baton Rider. Let me hold this up here so you can see it in the upright. This would be the Knight of Wands. So here she is, excited, beautiful. She's in reverse. And here's the Jack of Spades over top. In the past position, or the internal position, we have the Nine of Buckets and security. Here we have the guy surrounded by lions. And so this would be the Nine of Cups, or the Wish card, as some people call it. That is also in reverse here. And here we have the Ace of Hearts in what I think of as its reverse position. Not everybody reads reverses in playing cards. Not every playing card can be reversed. For example, the Ace of Diamonds looks the same no matter how you look at it. I look at playing cards based on the groupings of the pips and whether or not they're upright or upside down. So that is something that I do that not everybody does. So if it's not your cup of tea, at least know that my cards that I dealt expected me to do that. So I ought to be able to read this and get a reasonable message, even if you reading the same cards would read them differently. I respect different styles very much. I think it's just important to have a personal relationship, and this is mine. So anyway, Here we go. I've got the 5 of clubs. To me, this is the 5 of clubs upright because the 3 pips are upright and the 2 are down. So I look for the majority of the pips. So this is La Force. This would be the strength card. And here we see the eternity symbol over her head. And it is also in reverse. So what are we talking about here? Well, I got a chance to look at these cards before. I recorded this reading before. And then I wasn't really happy with it because I got to the end and felt like I was only just getting to the takeaway message. And one thing that I think playing cards allow you to do is get a crisper takeaway message. So that's what I'm going to do. This is going to be less of an open-ended, kind of general uplifting reading. And I think a lot of people do generally uplifting readings, and I hope that I do too. But this, I think this reading has some action items in it. So let me explain what I see, and then you can see if that makes sense to you. So the baton rider, the Knight of Wands, is the enthusiast of the tarot deck. It's a leading card, a card of leadership, but also a card of passion and enthusiasm, of exploration, of adventuring. And where I see this card impacted by the Jack of Spades, the Jack of Spades is a troublesome card, can be a troublesome person. Where we think of it here, it could be somebody with a sharp tongue, somebody who creates conflict or strife. And so I see an impact on the the Knight of Wands, the baton rider's enthusiasm, because there's an enthusiasm for the future. There's an enthusiasm for learning. There's an idealism that's inherent in the baton rider. And the Jack of Spades is kind of putting a kibosh on that. And when I look here, I see the security card, the wish card in reverse. And this is, I think of this more as emotional security, but in this depiction, which I think it matters what deck you're using. I mean, I like to read the fact that each deck is a little bit different. This is plainly a real feeling of security. If you were surrounded by these, it would matter a lot as to whether or not you thought they were your allies or your enemies. And I see that in this reading. I see it here with the 5 of clubs too, but let me stick with where I'm at in this column. In this column where the 9 of buckets is in reverse. Forgive me, I'm sort of changing as where I'm sitting, so it's kind of like moving around. One of my feet went to sleep. So where I'm seeing the 9 of buckets in reverse, I'm seeing a lack of emotional security. And when I see this card in reverse, I also think of a feeling of lack of deservedness. And that's one reason why I wanted to bring up the Taurus new moon, because there's a lot to do with self-worth and deservedness. Do I deserve these things? Am I loving myself? How do I value myself? That happens as we get to second house kind of issues. The first house can be your self-concept, but then the second house is how do you show your self-concept to the world in terms of your time and your attention, and how do you show your sense of value? How do you reflect your care for yourself? So here I see a lack of deservedness, and to me that's emphasized here with the Ace of Hearts. Now I read this in reverse, so to me this would be first love, first kiss, new nice things. But to me this is disappointment and loneliness. So to see this combined with this lack of emotional security and this Jack of Spades over this baton rider, I look at somebody who wants to be enthusiastic, who wants to try new things. Somebody maybe with their heart on their sleeve a little bit, who's excited about something, and they're getting kind of shut down. They're really getting interfered with, and that excitement is being squelched. Now, if the Jack of Spades is not a person, and in a general reading it might not be, it could just be this conflicting energy. A Jack tends to be a peer. So let's say this was at work, it would probably be a coworker who would be an interfering factor, or someone like a sibling or a neighbor. It's not somebody who has clear authority over you, but it is a peer, as I said, a cohort, someone in your cohort, someone who is somewhat like you in terms of their position in a company, perhaps their age or their place in life. And this person is ending up more like a rival than a support. And that's a real shame. And it is probably a situation that's been going on for a little while, because we have this sense of loneliness and perhaps even isolation, this lack of security, this feeling of being singled out. And I hate to see it. I don't like that at all. In the sort of future column, we have this idea of the Five of Clubs I see as effort, but as a change. It can also represent training. It can represent sort of growing through competition, through activity, this kind of thing. So because this is also a card that has to do with training, it could be a thing where you've been looking to expand your skill set, and somebody's been a real wet blanket about that. It could even be your partner, because it's a peer probably who's been saying, you don't need to go back to school for that, or, we don't need to build towards that. And this Taurus energy means that you're looking long term at things of value, and you really think there is something in the future of value if you could build towards it. Now this says you probably are going to build towards it, or you are moving towards it. And I would say, good for you. But it's not that easy, because you're feeling with La Force. Here we've got the lions in support. Here she's got the lion in support. But you don't have that. And where we deal with the lions, we think of heart. A loss of heart. That somehow a lack of support over a situation you've been in is really causing you to lose heart in your activities. And the other thing I want to say is that Taurus is not interested in fly-by-night things. So fashion and, you're in, you're out, trends, this is not quite as much in Taurus's wheelhouse. So what could be happening is that there's harsh thoughts or harsh words going around, and there's a little bit of a pile-on happening. This is not what Taurus is going to favor long term, and it looks to me like you're going to be able to build through it, but there's a sense of not being supported. But I also, because I see this infinity symbol here, and we've got this in reverse, I think this isn't going to last. You're going to outlast it, but you're going to have to devote yourself towards that routine activity, through that daily building up of yourself, of your self-worth, towards the things you want, towards the things you care about. Because right now in a rivalry situation, the things people say, today, tomorrow, you can't really trust them, because it's just fashion or pettiness or some transitory jealousy or envy or something like that. This isn't about the lasting values. So it's time for you to get in touch with your lasting values, to get in touch with what you really care about, so that you can find your heart and grow through this to triumph. I think you can. So thanks very much for your likes, shares, and subscribes. Talk to you next time. Rock on with your bad selves.